And I'm sure you're familiar with Aubrey de Grey, and I'm wondering what your beliefs are with respect to most of the people listening and watching this video, with respect to their ability to actually turn back the biological clock of aging so that actually we grow younger. Do you think that's realistic to project, to anticipate in our lifetime?
Absolutely. I mean, that's my goal, and I'm chronologically 63. I do come out younger on biological aging tests. I have overcome health challenges. I was diagnosed almost 30 years ago with type 2 diabetes, but for well over 20 years, close to 25, I've had no indication of type 2 diabetes. I have a genetic disposition to heart disease that's documented, but I have no atherosclerosis. So I've overcome a lot of these issues already. I agree with Aubrey. Aging is not one thing. It's multiple processes. He identifies seven categories. Dr. Grossman and I have 12, but it maps well onto Aubrey's categories as well. So some of these will require further advances, but we understand we actually have strategies for all of them. For example, an aging process is that the genes in your mitochondria are more subject to genetic errors because they use single-stranded DNA to reproduce, and that doesn't have the protection of a double-stranded DNA. So there's a high rate of genetic mutations in the mitochondria. So evolution realized this and started migrating the mitochondrial genes into the nucleus to replicate them. So when they get destroyed in the mitochondria, they're there in the nucleus and it doesn't matter. It didn't finish the job. There are 13 genes that are in the mitochondria that have not yet migrated to the nucleus. So put them in the nucleus. We know how to do that with genetic therapy. It's not absolutely straightforward. You can't do it tomorrow, but that's a strategy for dealing with a whole host of diseases and aging processes associated with mitochondrial genetic errors. I'll give you one that you can reverse right now, which is the depletion of phosphatidylcholine in the cell membrane. In a 10-year-old, there's a very high concentration of that substance. It depletes down to about 10% of the levels of a child in a 90-year-old. That's why the skin is brittle in an elderly person and the organs don't work as well. You can reverse that by supplementing with that substance. I take it every day orally. I take it intravenously once a month. It actually helps my skin. That's an aging process that you can actually reverse right now. Take atherosclerosis. I mean, Dr. Ornish has done a lot of work on that and shown the feasibility of reversing that. Now, atherosclerosis is not only a disease process, it's the principal cause of heart attacks and most strokes, but it's also a disease process because it's not just the coronary and cerebral arteries that get filled up with plaque. Every artery in the body does. So it leads to claudication of the limbs, and if an elderly person doesn't walk very well, very often atherosclerosis is responsible. It leads to impotence in men and all kinds of conditions. You can reverse that. Now, that's not just a matter of taking one substance. You've got to address cholesterol and inflammation and methylation. I mean, there's a lot of different processes that play into the process of atherosclerosis, but it's reversible if you're aggressive enough. And I'm very aggressive. I mean, my cholesterol would be 280 if I did nothing about it, but my total cholesterol is more like 80 or 90. So.
Your total cholesterol is 80?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's under 90.
Wow, don't you think I mean, there's a lot of literature that I'm familiar with that suggests that it's a problem if it's too low, that there's actually a sweet spot, sort of like a Goldilocks dose, because it's such an integral component of biology.
I don't believe that. I mean, there's some tribes in Africa that have very low LDLs, and they do very well. This research is confounded by the fact that cancer reduces LDL levels in the late stages, and cancer patients die in general. Some of this research shows a high association between suicide and low LDL
sure,
levels.
Absolutely.
But if you look at it, it's the cancer patients. So the cause and effect is reversed. It's the cancer causing low LDL and the cancer causing high suicide rates because lots of terminal cancer patients choose to end life themselves.
Well, what about cholesterol being the primary precursor molecule for most of all of our steroid hormones, including vitamin D?
I track all of these things. My hormone levels are good. My vitamin
Really?
D levels are good. I do supplement with vitamin D. So I think, it's not a matter of figuring these things out theoretically and then
Sure.
flying without an instrument panel. Part of my process is to measure, actually every 3 months, lots of different levels, and I'm constantly fine-tuning my own program, but my hormones and nutrient levels and so on are in a very healthy range for a young person.
Well, great. It's all a journey, and really that's what it's about. We're always learning, and you're seeking to be a perpetual student, as you certainly are. And we're grateful that you have provided us as a leader and a thinker in this area, because you really have provided some real amazing technologies and predictions, and really are very inspiring to all of us. So people can certainly view the movie The Transcendent Man, which really gives some projections as to what you're discussing at a deeper level. And are there any other resources that you might recommend for people who want to learn more about what you're doing?
So the movie is actually Transcendent Man without the and
Okay.
people can learn about it at transcendentman.com, and it's available, as I said, on iTunes and Movies on Demand and DVDs next month. Kurzweilai.net is a very good resource. We have a daily newsletter that's very influential. We have 1 million readers. There's a lot of exciting content on there. And the last book I've written about the science of all this is Singularity is Near. The most recent health book that Dr. Grossman and I have written is called Transcend, and that outlines a practical program. Most of it is about Bridge 1, what you can do right now to become younger and stay that way. But it also describes Bridges 2 and 3.
Great. Well, thank you for all you've done, and really for being such inspiration and leader in this area. It's really great to have the opportunity to connect.
Well, it's been great to chat with you.